Oh, how are you all doing? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Alex, pointing with a drill, and I am a vegetable grower here in the UK. I offer a veg box service and do some market gardens, or farmers markets even, and bits like that. Anyway, I started off the video, I'm planting out some chard, baby plug plants that I've grown from seed, and I've got a new dibber. And it is ridiculously good, time saving. I need to do a little bit of research on how much disturbing it's doing of the soil, but it's great. It took me half the time to plant that bed with this. So the big news for this video is the fence extension's done. So let's have a quick look at it first. If you get motion sickness, you might want to skip this bit. So those of you who have been following for a while will know that I have got 25mm hold galvanised steel fencing, 1.2 metres high, with a lip at the bottom, weed membrane over the lip, attached to just some rounded fence posts, all 1.2 metres high. Well, the fence posts were 1.5 metres high, but they've been hammered in 30 centimetres. It's only really to keep rabbits out. There we do get deer here. I understand that these are, I've said this a few times on my vlogs, I understand that these fences aren't going to keep deer out. If they want to get over them, they'll get over them. But so far on the first two blocks, it's acted as enough of a deterrent to keep them out. And I do know that they've been active on this site outside of the blocks, because where I've built new beds outside of the blocks before I fenced them, you could see the hoof prints and stuff like that in them. So it seems to be working okay so far. Fingers crossed the extension up the far end of the field will be just as good. Now that the fencing is all complete, I can finally lift the netting off these strawberries, which have got shed loads of flowers on them and are desperate for the pollinators. So let's get that done quickly now. You may have gathered that the fence that was the end of block B, or at the top of block B, that was separating block B and block C, has gone, which leaves me this big 2 metre space in between the two beds. I put this down 2 metres to give me 1 metre either side of the fence, but then I decided to move the fence so that it could walk all the way up the central of the blocks without being impeded by a fence or a gate. So we'll come back to that in a minute, but what that's done is opened up the space and the fencing that you've just seen to block C, D, E, which has only got 3 beds built, and F, which has got no beds built so far. And I'll have this massive, great big stretch of 6 blocks compiling of, oh God, I should have probably worked this out before I started filming the video. 1 sec. 62 beds. I knew that. I definitely knew that. I do plan 62 beds. Anyway, back to this 2 metre space. So now I've ended up with this space. It's wider than all my other separations. All the other separations in between the blocks are just 1 metre. In some instances they're only 75 centimetres. They're just to differentiate between blocks of beds, really. Ease of getting up and down without having to step over all the beds. But yeah, like I say, this one's ended up a little bit wider than the rest of them. So what I am thinking, and what I would like you to help me with, is I'm thinking about putting some living windbreaks or some living hedges in and growing it through this weed membrane. So my first thing would be comfrey. I thought I might put some comfrey there, growing it through the weed membrane to aid some fertiliser, some natural fertiliser, aid my composting system. It's great stuff to add to your compost. And then my second thought was maybe some fruit bushes, some berries or something like that, again through the weed membrane, but that makes it a little bit more difficult. So let me know in the comments below what you think, what you would use this space for, whether you would have a living hedge in here at all. Obviously it needs to have some gaps in it so I can walk to and from, and it can't take up the whole of this space, but I thought where the fence was bang up the middle of this, I could have a living hedge. Let me know your thoughts on what you think. I spent most of the winter complaining about how wet the field was, how it was limiting my access, and yeah, just generally moaning about how wet the field was and how bad the weather was. The problem I've got now is it's completely opposite, and I know most of the country are in the same position, so I've sort of limited the amount of moaning around how dry and how little rain we've had over the last 6 weeks. But yesterday, literally, it seemed like on Instagram that half the country had a downpour, which I'm absolutely desperate for here, and we didn't get a single drop. So I'm in the field again this morning, putting more artificial water. I know if there is such a thing, how to describe it, but mains water, which we know isn't as good. It costs me more money, and I just need a little bit of rain. And every time BBC Weather eggs me on a little bit and some rain appears in the forecast, hours before we're due, it disappears and we get glorious sunshine like we've got today. So yeah, that is my 1 minute rant about the weather. Get used to it. Actually, maybe it should be me that's getting used to it. I'm the one that's trying to make a living out of farming, and we know that's pretty weather dependent. So don't get used to it. Tick me off in the comments for moaning if it gets too much, and I'll get used to it. I alluded to the fact that in plant C we've started planting in the last vlog, and I wasn't lying. The first 2 beds, which is C10 and 9, have been planted. So we've got early calabrese on the outside, 2 rows, planted about 60 centimetres apart, or maybe 45 centimetres apart, 2 rows in the bed, and then in between, planted just 10 centimetres apart, we've got multi-sown spring onions, ramrod, all the way up the middle. And in here we've gone, again, 2 rows of purple sprouting broccoli on the outside, same spacing, roughly 45 centimetres, 2 rows, and then the row in the middle of this one is more early calabrese. And there is about 200 broccoli plants across the 2 varieties in these 2 beds. So yeah, planting in block C is underway. I'm obviously just using EnviroMesh at the moment, just laid over the top gently. It's very, very light to protect them from pigeons and butterflies whilst they're really young and susceptible to pest damage. And yeah, and then I'll continue to plant down this block. The building works have started next door, so it's super noisy, so I'm going to call it a day for this vlog and crack on with some more planting. I will do another vlog in the next couple of days and catch you up with what I've been up to. I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to put in the comments what you think I should do with the 2 metre space that we talked about earlier. And if you like this video, give it the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.